everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 3, aka episode 28 altogether, of Chihayafuru season 2, and I'm really excited. I really like Sumeri-chan. She's really great so far. I've looked at some comments from Patreon for episode 1 of the second season, and I know y'all that are Taichi Chihaya shippers are just gonna have to, subtly deal with me as we go through this. However, I will say this. There has been a comment that has made me put a few more things in perspective, so just bear with me, right? So, I've got my coffee tonight. I'm ready to go. But let's dive into the comments because Shimuyama has a comment from the first episode of the second season talking about, I got confused how sports Karuta is different from shogi or ego because they value manners well, but differently. And Shimuyama's from Japan. So they normally speak Japanese, and so this is translated into English, so I'm going to read it directly from them. For example, shogi ego, the loser has to say, I lost to you to the winner, which if you've watched March Comes In Like a Lion, you know how that goes. In sports Karuta, both of the players have to say thank you at the same time. In sports Karuta, there is no kamiza or upper sheet and shimoza inferior sheet. They are equal competitors. In shogi ego, there are kamiza and shimoza, but usually they are not determined. The person who comes early sits shimoza and waits for the other to come. However, the sheets are clearly designated. Usually the title holder sits kamiza and so on. Which I like seeing these little subtle differences. It's neat to see how things function between sports because a lot of people, unless you play the sport or you watch it, you don't know. So that's really cool to see. But Shimuyama had this translation thing, and since they are from Japan, I trust their input in this. They said also, in episode 1, when they're on the train, Taichi says, quote, you have a lot of choices to Sumire, which is an indirect phrase that says, I'm not interested in you. Yes, Japanese like indirect phrases, especially in saying no. So, basically, unlike, I've seen in a lot of videos that in Japan, they're like, Americans are very forward and direct and kind of like loud. And yes, we are. I cannot help it. Even the ones that are quiet, we cannot help it. But I like that kind of passive aggressive way of saying no. So basically, when Taichi was like, I bet a lot of boys, you're really cute, so I bet a lot of boys would like you. That's the way of Taichi saying, I'm not one of them that thinks you're cute, which is like, damn. So I know he didn't mean it in a bad way. It's just him trying to like let her down easy. But I still like by the end of that episode that she's like, well, now wait a minute. You get to choose who you like, even if that person might not like you back. Why can't I do the same? I'm like, get it, feminist. Let's go. So because yeah, Taichi's like, well, I'm going to choose who I love and support them, when it's like, but what if Chihaya chooses Arata? Then what are you doing? I guess you're going to support her, which is great, but you need to support her without knowing you're getting anything out of it. And so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I like Sumire as kind of a buffer in this. I feel like Sumire will either do one of two things, either one of three things. I feel like she's either going to make Chihaya realize that she likes Taichi. That could happen. She's going to make Taichi realize that maybe there are other people other than Chihaya. We'll see where that goes. Or she'll figure out she really doesn't like Taichi in that way, and maybe we'll find love from someone else. Or there's a fourth option, which is who knows what'll happen, because it's Chihayafuru, and this mangaka is very unpredictable, and I love that about them. It's one of my favorite things. And then Alexander Q says for episode 26, I loved Chihaya in this episode so much. She loves Karuta so much and wants to do what's best for the club, not just herself, to make these kids love Karuta as much as she does. And now she's also fighting for it, for everyone to have their best time with Karuta. I hope this means that she's realizing that maybe being queen is not exactly her dream, even if she still wants to get there, because that means she gets to fight the best person at Karuta, someone that loves the sport as much as she does, but that she just loves Karuta so much and wants everyone else to love it as well. Here's the thing. I feel like the best thing you can do if you want to be successful at any competition or any sport is to not want to be the very best, but just to embrace it and love it. Because honestly, I think that's when you're your best. When you are like, I have to become the queen or I have to become the master, you put so much pressure on yourself that it makes it harder to accomplish that. Whereas if you're just like, I love this, I'm going to have fun with it, then you typically do well and you get to have those benefits while also not putting that extra pressure on yourself. So I love that, right? And then Alexander Q says, seeing all the different goals that the current members of the club have is, in my opinion, a great way to set up their arcs for the season. Will they come around Chihaya's view of things and be more team players? Or will they double down on their own ambitions and play more individualistically? Funny enough, Karuta gives room for both takes, as it's as much a team sport as it is a solo one, and that's an interesting dynamic to explore. Yeah, so Nishida's whole thing was about the prelims. So Nishida, that's their goal. So we'll see about that. Kana just wants to try to teach etiquette and, you know, embrace the structure more because she's wanting to become a reader eventually. Tsutomu wants to just have everyone work towards prelims, get it together, and stay functional. We have our two new people, which is we have obviously Sumire, and then last we had Tsukuba. Tsukuba is our new guy, and then we have Chihaya wanting everybody to do well and to build a powerhouse team, and then Taichi needs to get to Class A. So everybody's got dynamics, which is exciting. So yeah, I can't believe we're already on the third episode, to be honest with you all. That is wild to me. I can't believe it, but we are, so I guess we'll just go with that. So anyway, I'm excited. I hope you all are as well. Thank you so much for the comments and the kind words. Season 2 has been so much fun so far, and I can't believe we're already on episode 3. But in any case, we are going to start episode 3, aka episode 29 or 28 of Chihayafuru, and we're gonna do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, it feels good to be back in the love triangle, could be love square territory. This is the real games now. Look, I love Chihayafuru as a sports anime, but I also love it as a choose your romantic ship adventure series, because this series keeps me on my toes as to like exactly what we're going to go into with ships. So we should just establish those. We should do like our little, what is our Chihayafuru armada of ships? What does it look like right now? Well, let's just do this is our little yacht, our little shipping yacht. It's on the waters, having a good time. So let's look at ships. See what we got going on in this episode, right? So we're going to put these ships in different categories because they should be, because it'd be fun to do so. So let's look at the likely to cruise. They're not just leaving the harbor. They're probably going to be there for a while out to sea. So, and then we're going to do like over here, possibly sunk. Possibly sunk. And then we're going to do Romania's ship down here, which is going to be called the wishful boating. Let's do that. My dog was very nice, where he was like, I basically took his ball with my feet the entire time so that he couldn't do this. But okay, now, I honestly, under wishful boating, but possibly sunk, I'm going to tie like a little tiny little raft here. And with my buoy is going to be Sumire and Taichi. I'm going to be honest, it's my guilty pleasure ship because I don't really like Taichi and Chihaya as a ship. I feel bad, but he just hasn't won me over with a ship with Chihaya. They just haven't won me over. And I know there's so many people that watch this series with me that are big Taichi Chihaya shippers. You are all valid. In fact, likely to cruise, I feel like long term Chihaya and Taichi are likely. There are factors that I don't know. there are factors that just kind of make me hesitant about Taichi and Chihaya right now. It's Taichi's attitude. It's Chihaya's fact that she's not shown much romantic interest in him. It's the fact that their parents aren't very supportive. I don't know. I just don't get a big vibe out of them, except the only vibe I get from Chihaya and Taichi right now is the obvious mangaka safe choice. That's what I get out of it. And we've had some good flirty moments in season 1 with Taichi and Chihaya, but they were really just Taichi projecting his crush on her, but he doesn't have the strength to tell her he likes her. So he does these kind of passive flirty moments. I don't know. It's not won me over. The ship hasn't won me over. I'll just be real. It's not won me over. I do still like, and probably my big ship is Chihaya times Arata, because I like them. I like Chihaya and Arata. They're more like-minded than Chihaya and Taichi. Chihaya and Taichi are like opposites attract, I guess, because they're very different people. Chihaya and Arata are kind of like, they're very similar. But I do get people's points with the fact that Chihaya seems like she more idolizes Arata than has any romantic interest. Chihaya, can we just say that the wishful boating, it's just Chihaya and Karuta. Chihaya and Karuta, I honestly, if she didn't end up with either of them and she just did her own thing, I would support that. I'd be fine with that. Honestly, then everybody's happy and everybody's mad at the same time. But I don't know. I do get the criticism that Arata and Chihaya have not had time to bond. They can't help that. Sorry, the mangaka made it that way. But also the fact that she does kind of idolize Arata, and neither Arata nor Chihaya seem to have put together that they like each other. So I get it. But also in Possibly Sunk, I would say, I don't know any other possibly sunk ones. What's interesting with the thing is that we have Chihaya and Taichi, obviously. And then we have Chihaya and Arata, obviously. Then you have, if you want to make it a true triangle, you'd have Arata and Taichi, which Arata and Taichi, the show's not brave enough. I know it's not. It's Japan and it's anime. The show's not brave enough. Wish it was, but it's not. We can support Taichi and Arata all day. I really like shipping them, but I know in this series, this sports anime is staying as hetero as it can, so what can we do? I'm not going to be queer baited, that's for sure. Then you have, apparently, in this, you have Arata and Shinobu as a possible ship. I don't know. You have Arata and Shinobu. You know what? If I could see Arata and Shinobu if the series decided to go with Taichi and Chihaya, because it would be a dramatic subversion. Oh, you thought the light-haired character and the dark-haired character were going to get together? What if we switched things up? What if we had both the dark-haired characters and both the light-haired characters to get together? Look how subversive we are. I'm curious. My interest is piqued. My curiosity is piqued because it makes sense. Last season, Arata didn't go to the preliminaries. He just watched. So he learned about it after the fact, but he didn't even watch. He just learned about it afterwards. So Shinobu would not have seen him there. So it makes sense the mangaka setting Shinobu and Arata up to meet. Shinobu's interesting. Do I think the big question in this, that's kind of like, no man's land, is we obviously have Shinobu and Chihaya. I mean, we've got triangle A over here. We've got triangle B over here, where you have Arata, Shinobu, and Chihaya as a triangle. Chihaya, Arata, and Taichi as a triangle. Do you have Taichi and Shinobu as a possible pair? They're the ones that I'm like, I can't see that at all. I don't think Taichi, I'm going to put under possibly sunk, I don't think Taichi and Shinobu are a possibility. I just don't think that they just don't give off any vibes of being attracted towards one another at all. So I really think, I don't know. And who knows? Would I support Chihaya and Shinobu? Hell yes, I would. Hell yes, I would. But again, this show's not brave enough. Also, I am changing my mind a little bit in this episode. We have the right to do so. We have the right to evolve. Will I like Taichi and Chihaya as a ship down the road? Who knows? I will say this. I don't like when people try to force ships on me and they're like, oh, you'll understand one day. I don't like that at all. So if you were in the comment section, please do not be like, in season 3, you'll be rooting for Chihaya and Taichi. Please don't say that. Nope. That will get me to turn as far away from them as possible out of pure spite. So don't do that, please. Just let the girl cook. Let me cook. Let me get there. And maybe, if we're lucky, if that's what you want, and that's what I get, and that's where I get, we'll get there. But I had been all about Sumeri and Taichi as kind of shaking things up. I do like the idea of Sumeri, as Alexandra Q pointed out in the intro, as kind of testing Taichi to see if he really does like love Chihaya when he's faced with someone that challenges that. And I hope Sumeri kind of challenges that for him. So I'm kind of all about it. But honestly, this episode, my new ship, we're getting all up in the Yuri in this. We're getting all up in the Yuri because I kind of like Kana and Sumeri. Again, the show's not brave enough, but I kind of like it. I like Sumeri and Kana as our little Yuri ship. I like them. Do I think that Kana and Tsutomu down the road may be a thing? Yeah, I could see it. Tsutomu grows up to be a data analyst and she runs the shop. I could see it. Nishida and Kana, I don't see as much anymore at this point. I saw them somewhat in season 1, but I don't see them as much anymore. I'm gonna put also under the bewildering buoy. The bewildering buoy. We're just gonna put here as my little buoy here. Is it weird that I kind of like the idea of Tsukuba and Chihaya? Is that weird? As a fun crack ship, I kind of like Tsukuba and Chihaya. I like the idea because he's just like, oh, she's really pretty, and his brothers automatically love her, and she's just like, yeah, let's all go play Karuta together, and he's like, okay. I mean, just the one thing about Tsukuba that I do respect is that he's very open about when he doesn't think he's going to get reprimanded because he tries to do that one thing behind everybody's back with changing the order, which we'll talk about in this episode. But Tsukuba is pretty somewhat open about his emotions, and I appreciate that about him. I wish Taichi would open up more about what he thinks, but he's one of our main characters, and we've got to have lots of character development, and Taichi's a slow burn, so we just got to deal with it. But yeah, so lots of ships. Lots of ships so far. Oh yeah, and Retro Coon's on here. Maybe like in the bewildering buoy, could Tsukuba and Retro Coon? Nah, probably not. Who knows? Also, possibly in here, we could have Retro and Taichi. Taichi doesn't have as much of a harem as he did before back in season 1. So what can we do? What can we do? But you know what? This series tests the waters all the time with what I think is going to happen. And I thought from season 1, I was like all mapped out. I was like, yep, season 2, Arata's going to face Suo, and that's going to be a thing for the Masters tournament, and that's where we're going next. No, Arata's goal is not the Masters. His goal is the high school preliminaries. Him and Nishida are doing a group think. So it's Morale that is planning on facing Suo, which I kind of like. I like the idea that things aren't going to be easy. Arata, even the funny thing again is that Taichi and all of them think Arata is this Karuta god. He got second place in the tournament next to Morale, the guy who looks like a chocolate bar. So I'm like, Arata is not this infallible deity of Karuta. He's really good. But he is not this like god of Karuta like season 1 kind of made him out in the shadows to be. And I like that we're seeing more of Arata like up front and seeing more of like the genuine relatable person that he is. But good for Morale, Shinichi-kun, good for him. I also like that everybody there is like, damn, Nagumo Society, they are the powerhouse. They took first and second at a tournament of 100 Class A players. That's crazy. And all the people in suits are like, it was impressive. They had a great final match. They're like, they don't show any mercy. Like, I love that all these adults have a lot of respect. And then Arata, of course, he gets this fire in him where he's like, runner up, I wanted to win. I wanted to win, damn it. I love that for him. I love that. I like Taichi needs to get like Chihaya gets fired up. Arata gets fired up like this. Arata's this quiet blue flame, right? I need Taichi to get fired up. And he does. But I need him to get fired up like these two, like Chihaya and Arata do. I need him to get that way, right? And then Morale, they're like, wow, you're strong when you're serious about playing. Morale, that's my other crack ship. I want Morale and the girl, was it Yumi? I want Yumi and Morale to be a crack ship. They both have suffered at the hands of the queen and the master. I want them to be a ship. I really like that idea. Get it. Get it. She's a businesswoman. You seem like a decent guy. Let's go. Then we have Suo. Does Suo go in down here? Suo, we're going to put, he's just in open water. Suo's just out here on his own little buoy. Who knows? Who knows? If he trims up that facial hair, he might get somebody. Anyway. So Arata is looking up at the list of all of the national Karuta champions from Fukui, and his grandfather is like a 4-time at least champion. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot to live up to. And honestly, Arata, he takes it all in stride. Like Arata's grandfather's legacy and that burden and that pressure on him, if it was any other character, we'd probably be having like monologues about that, and like they'd be stressing out and crashing out over it. And Arata just kind of takes it in stride. He's like, it's not a burden to him, but rather it's aspiration, which is kind of cool. So yeah, then they talk about you and Morale are considered the possible favorites for the Masters match. And he's like, I'm not preparing for that. My current goal is the high school championship. And honestly, that makes sense narrative-wise because Morale cannot compete in the high school championship. Neither can Suo because they're both in college. So, or they're both out of high school at least. Suo's in college. I don't know about Morale. But they both are out of high school. So for Arata, he's like, I want to win the championship in the high school division, right? Which means that he might face Shinobu, which would be rather interesting, right? Now, I can't remember, are the high school championships, are they co-ed or are they just Class A versus Class A? I can't remember if they are or not. But then he's like, there are people, he says, my current goal is the high school championship. There's someone I really want to play. Now, the question is, we see both Chihaya and Taichi at the same time that he says that. I am assuming he wants to play both of them. But he may only get the chance to play one of them. But right now, Chihaya is the only one he can play unless Taichi gets to Class A. So we'll see. But yeah, everybody's practicing. It's the time of year for the high school tournament. I want to call out Empress because as a coach, we're in the middle of getting stuff ready for the speech season. It's busy. I'm working with students to get their speeches up, to get everything wrote, to get things memorized. They do the memorization, but I help them like coach things and like practice. And one team is hard enough. She's got to coach a tennis team and the Karuta team. Luckily, the Karuta team, they kind of have it covered. Chihaya and Taichi and them are doing a good job, and Nishida's helping to coach. They're doing good. But from an adult perspective, that's a lot. That's a lot. And this woman is no spring chicken. So she is doing quite a bit in this. And I have so much respect for her as a coach. That's just incredible. So yeah, we're going to skip the OP this time. Feel, love, deepen. I think that's a perfect analogy for this episode in that the love of Karuta, the love of the sport is deepening for both Sumire and Tsukuba. And I am 1,000 times here for it. I love it. So yeah, so everybody is getting ready. Now, when the mom, she's like, I've missed you so much. And he's like, oh, you're Kana's mom. And she's like, Reiko-san. She's like, oh, yeah, it's Reiko. You're looking even more handsome. I have to tell you all, and this will be dated as soon as I say it because this will not have a lot of longevity to it, but this entire scene right here where Reiko is helping him put on the kimono and she's fawning over him is, you could say it's a little creepy, but it's all harmless, so it's fine. But what it reminded me of was that if you're watching in America Dancing with the Stars, I think it's like it's Come Dancely or something, or ballroom dancing in Britain, but it's Dancing with the Stars. There is one of the people dancing on that show is Robert Irwin. If you don't know who Robert Irwin is, do you know Steve Irwin? Crocodile Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, you know? Back in the 90s, early 2000s, he was famous for like going in these crazy places and looking for alligators and wildlife and stuff. And he tragically passed away in the mid 2000s from a stingray. It was really bad. But his son is now old enough and kind of filling in his dad's shoes. But he was selected to be on Dancing with the Stars. And don't get me wrong, Robert Irwin is a very attractive young man. He's 21, so he's a very attractive young man. But my friend sent me a video and was like, oh my gosh, look at him. And I am 37, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, I was 16 when he was born. I was like, I don't know. I just can't. I cannot. I was like, even though he's 21, I was like, I was 16 when he was born. I was in high school when he was born. I was in high school when he was born. I can't, no. He was like a toddler when his dad died. I was like, I can't do it. No. So I just, no. So this whole scene here made me think of that. I was like, Psycho, no. Leave Tai Chi alone. Leave him alone. I like that Sumire is like, how dare she get to dress him? And then Kana comes in being like, why are you standing there? Let's put this on. And she's like, I'm not playing. She's like, oh, you most certainly are. I think I've liked the ship of Sumire with Taichi mainly for the fact that she would challenge him and she wouldn't put up with him. I think from their conversation on the train, she fawns over him. And so you would think, oh, well, she would just like, you know, have heart eyes around her and go around him and do whatever he says. I don't think so. I think Sumire would challenge him. And so I like the idea of Taichi, you know, growing as a person and being challenged, right? I think that's important. And I think Chihaya would challenge him as well because Chihaya is like, here's my thing. Again, Taichi, we got work to do. And I don't know if he's ready for Chihaya. And Chihaya doesn't even like him in that way at this moment. She's too Karuta focused, you know. But I do think Sumire would kind of hold him to accountable, if that's a thing. I don't know. That's kind of why I like them. I like the idea of a dynamic between two characters that would challenge each other in different ways, right? And so, I don't know. But anyway, so you say that, and then a lot of people would say, well, Arata and Chihaya seems very vanilla because they both, I'm like, they're like, that's like a soulmate territory of coupling where they're both like just meant to be and it's like pure love and whatever. But that's just my shipper brain and that's, you know, my biases. So I do think that putting on this Hakama here, it's like, oh, Sumire and Kana, the ship was born. They both recognize the beauty of the kimonos in that moment. Love it. Love it. Also, purple looks amazing on her. That's definitely her color. Chihaya was a monster this episode. Chihaya getting a flawless 25 card win in both of her games. Girl was on fire. Now, granted, she didn't have, you know, a lot of competition in comparison, but girl on fire. I want Chihaya's confidence. Keep it up, girl. I know it's not going to last forever, but I'm like, keep up that confidence, girl. Keep it up. I hope you do well. So there's 14 schools split into 4 groups. And they conveniently say that this year, 2 of the top schools will go to nationals. 2 of the top schools. That seems rather convenient. That makes, it's either going to go one or two ways. Either Chihaya's group is going to win, like, and be the number 1 team to go to nationals, and like Retro Coon's team will get to go and do something there. That might happen. Or Chihaya's team is going to get 2nd place and get to go to nationals, and it's going to be like a character building moment. So we'll see which route it goes. But we meet Tsukuba's little brothers. I thought Tsukuba was a middle child or a younger sibling. The fact that he is the eldest kind of makes sense now that we see the dynamic he has with his little brothers, but also like the genetics. Did his family want a girl? Did his family want a girl really bad? And then after the 4th kid, they were like, it's not going to happen. Not in the cards. Because I have a feeling that's distinctly what happened. Because poor Tsutomu, he gets knocked, his glasses get knocked down. The brothers immediately gravitate towards a pretty girl. They all look the same. It is carbon copy with a different hairdo. They even have the same texture of hair. It's just in a different hairdo. Same, like, what's funny is I say that, but if you actually look at them, they all have the same eyes. Same eyes. But their eyebrows are a little different. Their noses are set a little different. The shape of their face is a little different. So they aren't carbon copies. I stand corrected. But they are so similar. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry if my brothers are bothering you. And he's like, oh, big bro. We're taught to run into pretty people. Your family's trying to get you married off real quick. I just like how open Tsukuba is. He's like, you're really pretty, Chihaya. My brothers run into pretty people. And Chihaya's like, okay, like, right over the head. Right over the head. I like how concerned this guy behind Tsukuba looks in the episode. Go to like 4 minutes and 21 seconds. It's really funny. But he's like, yeah, he's like, we're here to cheer for big bro. Their ages are 9, 10, and 11. And Tsukuba is what, 14? 14? So that poor woman had a kid. And when that kid was in his terrible 2s or tyrannical 3s, she had another one. And then a year later, she had another one. And then a year later, she had another one. After the first one, you know how they come around. You know how that happens. So you could not have that happen. But you did. I'm like, they clearly wanted a girl. And then after the 4th boy, they were like, no. Because one of the women I coach with, she has 4 sons. That they're all like within 3 years of each other, each and every one. And she's admitted, she's like, we really wanted a girl. And then after the 4th boy, we were like, never mind. I was like, which they love all their sons. Don't get me wrong. She loves all of her sons. But she's like, we were trying to get a girl. And then we're just like, well, it is what it is. So yeah, that's insane. That's insane. No one in their right mind should have 3 boys or 3 children back to back within 3 years. That sounds nightmarish. That sounds insane. Your family's insane, Tsukuba. But what can we do? I love his little gecko face where he does. They say, you look like Pico-chan. What is Pico? What is Pico? I'm so curious. Like Pico, pop culture. What is Pico? We need to know. It's Fujiya's first mascot. Oh, okay. Actually, it does look like Pico. That's kind of crazy. So Pico, I'm going to do I'm going to put like a little thing up here. There's a girl and a boy that's on here. I'm going to show y'all an image that's right here with the little lip. It does kind of look like that. Okay. Okay. So it's like it's like a food or a mascot for a food. Maybe, possibly. Y'all are going to correct me in the comments down below. Interesting. He does kind of look like that. That's funny. I like that Tsutomu's like, no, he doesn't. Like, Tsutomu doesn't want the one thing he likes to be ruined. And Chihaya's like, I can see it. Also, man, this family knew. They're just like, y'all are getting the same color hoodie, same color pants. We're just going to buy in bulk. Buy in bulk, and that's going to be fine. I honestly like Tsukuba and his brothers. They're so cool. And I like how his brothers look up to him and they all practice. And I like Tsukuba being the eldest sibling kind of makes sense now because he has this mentality of wanting to do well. He definitely has the first child syndrome of you have to do well. And I can relate to that. So I really like Tsukuba's character. He's a lot of fun. And then Tsutomu was like, he hasn't beaten any of the second years in a single practice match. So he's not going to get to play. So Nishida and Taichi talk about the 2 teams getting to go to nationals. Nishida, you better not jinx this by saying it's going to be a lot easier. And then Retro-kun comes up pirouetting. He reminded me simultaneously of Jesse and James from Team Rocket and the woman from Ouran High School Host Club whose name escapes me, who's like, oh! Like, is it Regina? Who is she? But he reminded me of her being like, Hoko Academy will win in the end. I feel a little bad for Retro-kun because damn, they just come out and say, they're like, well, since Pseudo graduated, you guys aren't that good. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, actually, Retro-kun's team was pretty damn good last year. They really didn't do that bad. They had the Prodigy kid on there that Nishida barely beat. And then they had a couple others on there. I was like, actually, don't they have more than one Class A player other than just Pseudo? Now, something cool about Retro-kun that he reveals to Nishida, he's like, oh, well, you know, eyelashes, aka Taichi, he's stuck in Class B. even though he went to these other matches. Why is he your president? He went to Hiroshima and Kyoto and he still couldn't win. And I like that Taichi's like, you're in the same boat. You son of a bitch, quit revealing all this about me. That to me also says that I don't remember if Retro-kun was there with multiple people, so like the team paid his way in. Either the team paid his way in and Hokuo paid for his trip to go and Taichi's team just doesn't have the money, or Retro-kun is a little bit more well off maybe than, say, some of the other members of Taichi's team, because they all couldn't afford to go to those tournaments. So yeah, it's like neither of us have made it to Class A. And so then Taichi says Hokuo doesn't scare us now that Pseudo's graduated. And that was cold. That was a little brutal. What a blow to Retro-kun. He's like, well, we have our ultimate weapon. Of course, they're not going to reveal that until supposedly the finals. Will we get to the finals? Probably. And that's probably where we'll decide either they're going to beat Retro-kun's team and be the first one to go, or they're going to get a lesson learned and get beaten by Retro-kun's team, which the foreshadowing of this episode with Nishida and Taichi, like, being really, like, puffed up about there being two teams going and that Pseudo's graduated tells me that they're going to lose and Retro-kun's team's going to win. But I don't know. And we shouldn't be greedy. I know Chihaya doesn't want to give the trophy back. She's like, we need to win it back again this year. And I'm like, that's even more karma that you're building and foreshadowing you're building. I don't know. Oh, the guy with glasses against Tsutomu. We didn't see a lot with him last season, but I really wanted to see more with him, so we probably will. Yeah. He's like, we were focused on our goal. Here's the thing. I don't know if they're going to win. I think they're going to get second place because last year they all had solidarity and we want to win. This is our goal. The whole thing they've been building up this season so far is that everyone, even though our individual players are stronger, they're not unified as a team because everybody has different goals that they're trying to complete. So I don't know if them being disjointed at this stage of the game is going to allow them to win or if they're going to lose. We'll see. We'll have to see on that. But yeah. So they started out, they had Nishida, Kana, Ayase, which is Chihaya, Tsutomu, and Taichi in the order to go. And they're like, and so then, I don't approve of this. I don't approve of Tsukuba saying he was going to turn in the order, and then he conveniently goes to the corner and tries to change it. And Nishida, nothing gets past him. And he tried to take out Tsutomu and replaced it with Tsukuba Akihiro. So his first name is Akihiro. Interesting. Okay. And he's like, what do you think you're doing? I did not approve of this. That was a snake move. That was a snake in the grass move. Not cool, Tsukuba. And Nishida says, would you change the order? And Tsukuba's like, well, I came within 3 cards of beating him. I've almost caught up in terms of skill. And then Taichi just smacks the shit out of him. He just... And he's like, cool down. No. Don't question. We put an order. Don't. And honestly, I'm glad Taichi did smack him because Taichi's like, you're not going to run over this. And that was a low move. Why didn't you talk to us about it? Don't try changing things. That's not cool. If you can't play by the rules and be a team player, then leave. I mean, Taichi's not wrong. He did exactly what he needed to do in that moment. And Tsukuba's like, well, but my brothers want me to play. And that's when Tsutomu's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. In our first match, we're going to swap out, he says, for our first match against Shiryukan, let's switch me out with Sumire. I like that Tsutomu doesn't cave in to Tsukuba's demands. Instead, he's like, actually, we're going to play strategy. You did bring up a good point. Sumire, who is doing her makeup in the corner, we're going to have her and Chihaya and Kana alongside Nishida and Taichi. They're going to play the frat bros. Are too obsessed with women. The one guy, like, even though Sumire lost, which of course she should lose, she's not really that great, even though we're going to talk about the strides she makes in this episode. The fact that one guy was like, there's the card. And she's like, he's like, see, you got it now. Like, oh my God, what? And then he's like, in the next match, we're going to put you, who's kind of Tsutomu actually is like a little bit of a backhanded compliment where he's like, we're actually going to put you against the one team because you're kind of off-putting to them. And he's like, we're going to switch Kana out for them. I just, hilarious. The West High team is mostly women. Except for the one dude that joined. And I like it. He's like, your loud voice could also be used as a weapon. And he's like, the other three, Chihaya, Taichi, and Nishida, are going to have to play both matches and just, we're going to work through it. I love it. Chihaya looks amazing in that kimono, by the way. She looks great. I like that she got the Impassioned Gods card. That was a nice little touch there. And then he's like, I said a lot of rude things. He's like, but I was in your position. I love that because I hadn't really thought about that. Like Tsutomu and Tsukuba have kind of been at odds with each other, but I hadn't thought about it. But Tsukuba kind of was like Tsutomu in season 1. But I like it because Tsutomu and Tsukuba are very different characters. Like they focus on different things, and Tsukuba's not like a nerd or some guy that's like, you know, there to study and whatever. Like they came at this from very different places, but they both exhibited similar behaviors. He's like, I was like you, and I was also given a chance. There's no rush. You'll get better very soon. Tsutomu's a legend. MVP. Love him this episode. So good. You have the passion and the talent. And then Tsukuba turns into a Mob Psycho character. He turns into a Mob Psycho character, but I love it. It's so sweet. And then he says that Tsutomu is so cool. He is. I love it. I love it. Sumire is like, what the heck is going on? Chihaya looks serene throughout this entire episode. She's like, nobody told me this would happen. She's like, which card do I take? And then he goes, and he's like, that's Ayase's opponent. Chihaya looks so serene and gorgeous in this episode. She was in the zone. She was locked in. She was looking like a goddess. Like, good for her. She's just like, she had the look of a queen in this episode. She had the look of a queen, and I was like, that's what it takes. And I liked how Sumire says she wasn't belittled for being a girl. No, honestly, even though it is a co-ed tournament system where there's a master and a queen, even though it's a co-ed tournament system, I feel like it is very much like the female players are just as respected as the male players, which is great. I love that. And I love how Chihaya's strength and serenity kind of inspires Sumire to be like, I need to memorize faster. I need to get faster. I'm going to be curious to see what kind of style Sumire develops, because they kind of hint at it in this episode, where it's like the electrical current of her thinking. Like the electrical current of her thinking is like lightning, and she starts to move faster to take the cards. So I'm curious if her style is going to be like Chihaya's, or if it's going to be different. I don't know. So she lost, but everybody else did well, and that's when the Empress tells the one instructor who asked about the recruitment files, she's like, I've got 20 applications. He's like, oh, wonderful. And she's like, I'm not telling him 18 quit. That's the way to do it. So I guess that answers my question. Until they come around to the practice room and realize there's only 7 people there and not, 18 others, I guess we're all good for this season. Possibly. Now, we might get to the end of the season or the midway point, and the guy's like, you didn't get all the players, and then we might be in trouble. So we'll just have to wait on that one. But they're like, speaking of the Kruta Club. So they talk about Ayase. She's turned in a blank career plan again. Honestly, the more years I'm a teacher, the more years I do advisement, the more kind of disgruntled I become at the way our school to workforce pipeline is set up in the world. And it's not just a US thing, because this is Japan where the series is taking place, so it's something similar. But the more students I talk to, especially, this series took place, 12 years ago, but it's hard to be 18 and be expected to say what you want to do the rest of your life. In this world now, it's so hard. And like the people that want to be teachers, you have to have a passion for it. You have to have a strength for it, and you have to have a love for it. And otherwise you're not going to be a good teacher. Same with nurses, same with any field, honestly. But I feel like it's really hard, and a lot of students are pressured to choose a career, and a lot of them will pick careers because they just have good paying salaries, which that's deceptive for a lot of reasons. Or they pick it because they're like, oh, I want to be a vet because I want to work with animals. And it's like, well, there's a lot more to that. You might have to euthanize an animal or put it down or do surgery on it. You're basically an animal doctor. That's going to involve a lot of math and a lot of science and all that, and be in school for quite a long time. Or if you're like doing business, it's like, well, what are you going to do with business? And so a lot of times if they don't shadow someone, or if they don't like inquire from someone that they know, like, what kind of job do you have? What degree did you need for it? What qualifications did you need for it? Did you go to college? Did you not go to college? It's hard. And people's minds change as you get older, and circumstances happen. Like, you may not be able to do a job if something happens and, you know, you're disabled or something like that. Or you may get into a field and then realize you hate it. So it's like, I don't blame Chihaya for not knowing what she wants to do. And here's the problem. Chihaya does not have support from her family as well. Like, I'm sure her sister was like, I'm going to model. And her family was like, that's what she's going to do. And that's what she put down. And everybody at the school is probably like, yeah, you're pretty. You'll probably make it. But I don't think Chihaya's family is helping her figure that out. I don't think they care, which is sad. I think Chihaya wanting to be a coach is awesome. And I'm like, maybe she could be a teacher there. What else would she want to do? So I like that in the background of all this, it's like, what's Chihaya gonna do? But I like that the Empress defends her and says, she's not dumb. She is just thinking. She may, you know, act like she never thinks, but she does. I think. She does. Chihaya is an idealistic dreamer, but she does think. She's not stupid. And I'm glad the show kind of shows that. Pite by our poor Tsukuba. I love it. He's very nervous because his brothers are watching him. I like Tsukuba in this part of the episode where he just keeps like, we actually talked today in class. We talked with the speech team about, you know, when you go to your first tournament and everything, we were talking about hygiene and things like that. And we were like, you may not think that you sweat, but when you're in competition, you sweat. Like, stress sweat is a different kind of sweat. It just is. And some people just perspire when they don't perspire in the rest of the world. So it's like, yeah, no. And then he makes the mistake where he got the two cards completely wrong. And the one woman who's the captain of the team, she's like, lucky. He's a total amateur. I love Chihaya because, you know, there's two ways that is viewed in this situation. Because with Tsukuba facing, when you have Tsukuba versus the captain, you have also Taichi and Chihaya's perspective about it, which is so fascinating. Taichi kind of took the Nishida way out, where Taichi was like, okay, she's the only Class A player. Good. Tsukuba is facing her. That means that we can face one of their weaker players, and it's more of a strategic thing. And that's kind of playing into their mentality last year, which was their strategy as well, on who do we pit the Class A person against, because that might determine who the sacrificial pawn is. So Taichi's being very strategic about his answer, but then Chihaya is very ideological and idealistic about her answer, and also jealous and wants to play her. So I love that. I love that Chihaya is like, you know, this is a great opportunity for you to learn. Taichi's thinking of it as a strategy, and Chihaya's like, this is a great opportunity for you. And then everybody's like, she just wants to play the captain. I love it where they're like, lucky him. And I love that Tsukuba's like, how am I lucky? So then he's like, I was so close. But then he's like, oh, she's a Class A player. And honestly, I kept thinking he was going to make the connection to the fact that during the practice matches, he's like, I want to play the toughest players because I want to learn from them. Here's your chance. Here's your chance. I like that we see Chihaya get the Impassioned Gods card. And then he's like, he looks over and says, Ayase is faster. Nishida is stronger. And then we go back to the Katano Challenge Children's Center. Again, this family, monochromatic. There's like a turtleneck, a crew neck, and a hoodie. Just get monochromatic for these kids. But then in comes Akihiro. Big brother Akihiro. It's really cute. I love that he's there helping his brothers. That's really adorable. Like, he's a nice guy. I love it. And then he's like, fine, I'll make the face. I'll do the thing. And yeah, the captain was thrown off from it. and he uses his voice as a weapon. And I love Tsutomu's like, look at that. And I like Nishida gets all into it too. I love that Tsukuba's making an impression. And so we see Nishida teaching him, and he's like, these two cards that are the ones that say feel love deepen and feel sorrow wash are going to be his cards because they tie to his name. And then, of course, because that's part of Tsukuba's personality, he's like, oh, that's nice. Also, I had 8 other cards tied to my first name. And Nishida's like, take the compliment. Like, I love it. I just love it. And then the way he envisions the cards, and it has the little like Pico face on each of the cards. Adorable. And even though he loses by 13 cards, which you're playing a Class A player, and this is your first tournament, I love that the team ends up winning. Chihaya wins her match. Taichi wins his. Nishida won his. And then Kamino almost won. There was just a 2-card difference. So he's getting better. And I love that when the brothers run past him to go to Chihaya, which is adorable. And they're like, you're so cool, lady. And he's like kind of sad about it because he's like, oh, my little brothers went to her instead of me. They're like, big bro will catch up in no time. The fact that they were like, hey, you were so cool, but our big brother's going to catch up. He's going to do it. Like the fact they had so much faith in him, even though he lost, that was so sweet. They're like, we only played with wooden cards at home, but we're going to start practicing with the paper ones that you use, so he's going to get better. That's so cute. He's super awesome. And Chihaya's like, see, your little brothers love you. I feel like Chihaya understands a little bit because she's the younger sibling. And even though her big sister is so not grateful at Chihaya loving her, even though her big sister is so not grateful, Chihaya is always like, looks up to her big sister and is kind to her. So when she sees the little brothers saying that about Tsukuba, she's like, I know exactly what that's like. I don't know. I kind of crack ship Chihaya and Tsukuba a little bit. I crack ship them a little bit. I know there's not a chance in hell, but I crack ship them a little bit. And she's like, you guys should join our society with Dr. Harada. And she does like, no! What about our society? She's like, got it. So then we end with the ending scene with Shinobu. And I'm going to be real with you all. Her being able to drop 20 pounds like that within a span of a few months, to be young again. It does make me a little mad for a couple of reasons. One is because it just shows it was a gimmick for the season finale. Like, it was just a gimmick it was a gimmick to make the stakes rise for the match between her and Yumi. Because if she'd been thin, she wouldn't have had to struggle. And then it would have been a repeat of the match that she won the year before. But because she'd gained some weight and, got chubby and she wasn't used to it, it created this barrier. And I'm like, I expected it to kind of continue maybe. I knew it probably wouldn't, but it just makes it just a gimmick to make there be stakes, artificial stakes for the match. It is what it is. But also, as somebody who's had an eating disorder and currently is struggling with weight gain because they can't exercise because of some physical disability, I'm like, to lose weight so easily must be a talent. It's like, my body dysmorphia like cries at this scene. But anyway, it is what it is. I do the same thing that Shinobu does, where she like twirls her finger around the phone cord. My parents had a landline and I did the exact same thing. And they're like, if you needed somebody to practice with, you could always do that. You could always come over here. And she's like, thanks. And there was like one more thing to look forward to. The grandson of Eternal Master Wataya is coming from Fukui. What pressure. Your grandfather is the Eternal Master. Everybody's been talking about it. And it's Arata. How many years has it been since he's played in an official match? So that's the thing. He's played in practice matches, right? And he's been in a couple tournaments, so he's been in an official match, hasn't he? Hasn't he been in an official match if he was just in that tournament with Morale? So, I don't know. Maybe they're just, rumors. And then the moment it gets green and she's like, Arata, and she sees him as an elementary school kid with a shirt that says new on it. Honestly, I always thought they looked related because they had the same dark hair and the same eyes that were so cold and fierce. But then she sees him and she smiles. Does she have a crush on Arata? Does she? Does she have a crush on Arata? Does she view him as competition and she wants to beat him? Does she hate his guts? I don't know. She definitely wants to play him. She almost has... Shinobu's reaction to Arata is almost like Taichi's reaction to Arata, which is interesting to me. So I don't know what we're going to do with that, what their history is. Arata doesn't seem to care or remember her, but we don't know. So I'm going to be curious to see like what's up with them. So all ships are valid in the grand scheme of Chihayafuru. All ships are valid, and maybe I will appreciate Taichi and Chihaya as a ship later on. They're just not my fave right now, but you all are valid for shipping them. You probably are in game, so it's gonna be Arata or Taichi or neither is what it's gonna be. So there's a 1 in 3 chance, but we'll just see. We'll just see. So. This was a really good episode, and now there's some mystery, so... The episode's called Feel Love Deepen, so does Shinobu have love for Arata? And it's yandere? Who knows? But we'll find out, maybe next week. Who knows? But I am excited to hear your comments down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah! I'll be back very soon with more Chihayafuru. Bye!